What a difference a year makes. Location 1. Mandy travels by car to the town centre and parks in the car park. She is visiting her doctor. My stomach churned as I approached the health centre. He stood with his hood up, hands inside the top of his tracky bottoms and his legs in a wide stance like an iron pylon. I glanced up straight into his icy grey blue eyes. He sneered. I was just metres away. A trickle of sweat ran down my back. There was no other way in. I'd have to walk past him. I gripped my handbag tighter, my hand hot and slippy on the leather handle, inches away. He still didn't budge. "Excuse me, please," I said in the most Scouse accent I could muster. "I most definitely won't. Why don't you go back to where you came from?" He barked and uttered an old familiar slur. I could feel the heat rising from my belly. I was born here." "Well, it certainly doesn't look like it. Brexit happened ages ago. You need to get lost. I'm sick of you people taking our jobs." I shook my head. He sniffed, groaned in his throat and spat on the floor. He then walked past, shoving me with his shoulder. The heat in my stomach grew into a rageful fire. After 40 years of being a Scouser, I am still dealing with this nonsense. Instead of turning left to the doctor's, I turned right, walked into a privacy pod, sat in front of the screen, waited for the door to lock securely, and then tapped the red rectangle to connect to law enforcement. Then, report a racist incident, hate crime. Swiftly, I selected from the options where and when the incident happened, what the perpetrator looked like and what he said, etc. Finally, I jabbed my finger on submit. The report Mandy submitted in the PP is sent to the police, where they check the police national computer for details of the perpetrator. Police access address details, CCTV footage, facial recognition software and criminal history. Details of the perpetrator are shown on the screen. Paul Rimmer, white, male, age 22, lives at Way Road. Location 2. In an interview room at the police station. 2 officers sit at a table opposite Paul Rimmer. They explain that Paul must attend a 6-week race awareness course and complete the test at the end. If failed, Paul will have to pay a £150 fine and resit the 6-week course. Also, Paul must do 100 hours of community service within a diverse community to understand why what he did is a crime and learn about people who are different. This aimed to educate and engage to bring about social behavioural change. 3 months later. Location 3. Knowsley Refugee Centre. Paul has completed the 6-week race awareness course and has passed it. He is now serving his 100 hours of community service in a refugee centre. While working here, Paul met a young man called Ali. Ali is exactly the same age as Paul, as their birthdays are both in September. Ali's mum and dad and little sister died on the sea crossing to the UK. Ali arrived in Liverpool, both an orphan and homeless. It dawned on Paul that Ali's circumstances could quite easily have been his. Location 4. Community living room. Paul is playing FIFA 2050 with Ali. They both love playing FIFA and are massive football fans too. Paul feels remorseful and confesses to Ali the real reason why he's volunteering. Ali is very supportive. With his help, Paul writes a letter to Mandy, which he sends via his probation officer, to apologise, explain and invite her to the Voices of Action Against Racism event. 9 months later. Location 5. Town Centre Pedestrian Zone. Contractors and volunteers prepare a public exhibition. They install large frames with faces of famous people from Knowsley and Liverpool. There are quotes next to their faces showing their support for the campaign, Voices for Action Against Racism, which is the theme for this year's International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Paul, who has matured into an active advocate for anti-racism in Knowsley, is one of the event's volunteers and is fully committed to its meaningful celebration. 21st of March, 2050. The local community gathers to celebrate. The town centre's main access have been transformed for the event from one end to the other. People in the exhibition go through their role models' quotes and chat. They eat and drink at the pop-up food stalls that offer the most delicious international cuisine, akin to Duke Street Food and Drink Market. They dance to the live international music played on stage at the other road. Amongst the revelry, Mandy approaches Paul, who had asked her to meet her in person. This time, she approaches without anxiety. She sees Paul dressed in a white t-shirt with the slogan, Voices for Action Against Racism. His ice blue eyes are shining. He greets Mandy with a warm smile. Hi Mandy, thanks so much for coming. I wouldn't have blamed you if you had told me where to go, to be honest, Paul said, laughing. Mandy smiled. Paul continued. I don't want to repeat anything I said in my letter, but I just wanted to say how sorry I am, face to face, and also to say thank you. Puzzled, Mandy inquires, Thank you for what? You reporting me changed my life. That course on race awareness was the best thing I'd ever been on. I got nothing like that in school. I thought doing community service in a refugee centre would be a nightmare. But I've found my best mate, Ali, and I've actually found my purpose in life too. A story written by Mandy Weller and narrated by Patrick Gilmore. Please click on the last picture of the dome and follow the link to take a short survey regarding some ideas presented in Mandy's story. Your opinion matters.